and gentlemen, let's go.
Level up.
Lifestyle, wellness, and a damn good time.
Level up. Level up. Level up. Level up.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Hit it.
You're listening to the Holistic Life Podcast, presented by Say What Radio.
Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, welcome to the Holistic Life Show. I'm Jenny.
I'm Jay.
And for once, Jay did not make a weird face at my intro weirdness. So awesome. Well, of course, we have missed you dearly. I know it hasn't been that long, but I know you missed us. Every week between each episode, you are counting down the days until you get to hear from Jenny and Jay and everything we're going to talk about that's going to help lift up your spirits, make you happy, and probably laugh a little bit too. So, guess what we're talking about today? Once again, it's a reminder you are listening to the Flusterclux season, and this episode is called Risk.
That's totally not the code, by the way.
Well, apparently, Jay's being risky over here. He's trying to pre-order his iPhone. He's trying to log into our account while we're doing a podcast. And I would say, sir, that's risky. All right, so risk. There are about 75 different directions we can go with this topic, but I'm deciding to pull out dictionary to start, okay? Because I was like, all right, what is the dictionary definition of risk? Because I feel like risk, when we think about risk, we're like, oh, that's a risk. Oh, that's a risk. Or whatever. It's really risky to do that. Like, I feel like we use the word risk a lot in our lives, in general, as a culture, as a world. Okay. So risk literally means, as a noun, a situation involving exposure to danger. As a verb, expose something or someone valued to danger, harm, or loss. And then there's another little side thing over here. I'm on the Google. And it says, in simple terms, risk is the possibility of something bad happening. Risk involves uncertainty about the effects, implications of an activity with respect to something that humans value, often focusing on negative, undesirable consequences. Many different definitions have been proposed. So, Mr. Risk, still trying to log into your account and get that iPhone ordered. Like, literally, it can't wait like 25 minutes or something.
You know how I get sometimes.
Seriously, how are we going to have a conversation about risk when you're being risky? That's perfect.
Yeah, I was totally focused though.
Yeah, totally. So, but I was thinking here about this risk thing, right? Like, it's like the uncertainty about the effects, implications of an activity with respect to something that humans value, often focusing on negative, undesirable consequences. There are so many things going on in 2020 that we could label as risky. Outside of 2020, there's a lot of things we could label as risky. Look, just crossing the street when the light is green is risky.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting on an airplane and flying is risky. Going to the grocery store is risky. Look, I'm not saying all of those I agree with how risky they are or are not. But the point is just being alive can be labeled as risky. And so when you think about everything this year and everything that's going on, you can literally just be like, you ain't going to take any risks. I'm going to just stay inside where it's safe. But hey, staying inside where it's safe, it's risky because your building could collapse on you. You're laughing. You're like, what? But I'm kind of like, that's just talking about like life and stuff. But I always want to get like philosophical with things, right?
Do you always want to get philosophical?
Apparently not with the way you're asking. Is it the always word?
I vaguely. You usually don't want to get philosophical.
Yeah, I do. I like talking about stuff. I like going deep on things.
Okay, carry on.
I thought we had all kinds of philosophical conversations, but apparently that's something we need to explore.
Carry on with your philosophical urges.
Now I feel like I want to like reel it in. I'm like, you talk, Mr. Philosophical.
No, you was running with it. Go ahead.
Okay. So anyways, what I was going to say before Jay interrupted me and said I wasn't philosophical.
That's what I do, man.
So what I was thinking was, with life, there's like different things we want to do. And one of the things that I always have talked about is taking calculated risks, because people have told me over the course of my life, like, oh, you're so lucky. You went and lived in a different country. You did a study abroad. Oh, you're so lucky. You moved to Florida from Ohio. You took a new job. You quit your job, all that kind of things. And a lot of people look at some of the decisions that I've made, or even Jay and I have made in our lives, and they consider it risky. Because like to leave, right? Like to go into the unknown can be very scary.
I guess too, like perception is the main thing. On the other side, yes, I agree. But, some people would feel like staying at a 9 to 5 where you're not really promised anything, is risky, because at any day, if we're talking about uncertainty or whatever, you can walk into your job and be let go. 2020.
Right. So kind of like for me, when you talk about risk, talking about it like this tangible, I know it's very intangible, but I feel like we're talking about it right now and it feels really tangible and it feels really in my face. Okay. And talking about risk, you could lose your job, or you could do this, or you could go bankrupt, or you could lose your house, or I don't know, like whatever it is. And I'm not talking about related to 2020. I'm just talking about all the things that are, life is risky.
Right.
Life is risky. Now, granted, I feel like there's different levels of risk, but it'll be different for each person. For me, a risk level of 0 is picking up and moving across country.
That's a 0 for you.
Well, I mean, maybe a 2. It's like semi-risky.
There's somebody hearing that and be like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? That's a 0?
Okay, maybe a 2. I'll give it a 2, 3. Right. Is that good? Does that feel better?
Picking up and moving cross country is a 0 for me.
Right. It's like
perception.
Right. But like a 10 for me would be jumping out of a plane or something.
Perception is key.
Oh, here's a good one. Taking every single dollar that I have to my name and gambling it on something like the presidency or something. Like I'm going to gamble that this person's going to win the presidency.
Yeah, in my opinion.
Like an all or nothing. Risk. Okay. So like that would be like a 10.
Yeah.
Like that would be like a 10. I mean, I know if I put 5 million and the payout's 150 mil or whatever it was, that's a big payout. What would your risk 0 and risk 10 be? Would your risk 0 be laying on the couch?
Yeah. My risk 0 would be laying on the couch. Actually, swimming with whales, that's risky to me.
That's risky. Like a 10? That's your 10?
I'd say that would be like maybe a 6. That would be my 6.
Okay.
10. I don't know what my 10 would be right now.
The point is like risk is relative to each person. And also it's based on the situation. Because for me, like I said, my risk 0, 1, 2, or 3 is like picking up and moving cross country. Because I'm like, well, you got nothing to lose. Like everything to gain.
In your opinion.
Right. Versus someone who may have a business, a couple houses, a couple kids, I don't know, like a lot of stuff going on. They may find that to be risky, especially I think too, I feel like the risk kind of builds up for someone, like goes up in the numbers. The more they feel they have to lose, or the more perceived loss alongside of that choice. And that's where I was saying the philosophical comes in, because it's like, hey, when you're going to go, we all have the opportunity to create our life by design.
Right.
At any moment, you could say, you know what? I don't really like what I'm doing. I don't like my job. I don't like where I live. I don't like whatever, right? And I want to live in another country, or I want to live in another state. I want to live in a different house. I want to whatever. But a lot of times what happens is that fear creeps in and you feel like it's a really risky move. Right. Just like me quitting my job. You know what? Honestly, me quitting my job, now I can look back and be like, risk level 0, but that's not true, right? Like me quitting my job in January and saying, you know what? I'm going to believe in me and I'm going to take this leap of faith into our business. I'm going to believe in me. I'm going to believe in us. And I'm going to believe in what we're doing. And at the time when I left that job, it was a nice 6-figure paying job, like the dream job on paper. And yet that risk level was probably, okay, so here's an interesting twist. That risk level was probably like a 7 or 8.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a 7 or 8.
But it was something I was comfortable with doing. So it wasn't a 7 and 8 with like an oh shit factor of I better not do it. Because even if it's a high scary thing, it still felt right because it was like a calculated risk.
Even if it's a calculated risk though, there's growth. You know what I'm saying? Like if all you know is a 9 to 5 and then you're like, yo, I'm going to leave my job. If you have a 9 to 5, right? And you've been doing this, but your heart is somewhere else. Yeah, leaving your job, you said with a 6 or 7 or 8, but you knew you wanted to do something else. You knew there was something else. So I think it was a 7 or 8 as far as I really don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, but I do believe in what we're trying to bring to the universe, to the world right now. And me just getting up and clocking into work really isn't doing anything because I feel like life is slowly passing me by, you know, as opposed to, I think that's a 7 or 8 on paper, in my opinion. Because on 7 or 8, it's like someone else looking in is like, oh shit, but you have this, like you said, on paper, this dream job or whatever. But for you in that time, in that situation, it was a 3 or 4 because it's like, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm going to bet on me. I believe what I'm creating, what we're creating is going to give me the lifestyle that I want. So the bigger risk, more than like, oh shit, what am I going to do? The bigger risk is me staying at this job and me having regrets when, you know, I'm 50, 60, 70, 80, you know, and all I did was work at a 9 to 5. There's a trade-off in risk levels, you know, like more like a monetary, materialistic type of thing. And then extrinsic versus intrinsic. You first get your job, college, you know, get a house at a certain age or whatever. It's more of an extrinsic risk to walk away from something that looks good on paper. But, you know, the more you do it, the more it's just like, I'm just clocking in. I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel happy. I don't feel like joy. I don't feel like my life is going anywhere. It kind of dives into that intrinsic thing. Like if I stay here, am I risking my happiness, my joy? So then it kind of flip flops, right? So before, like walking away, it would be like 7 or 8. And now it's dropped to like a 3 or 4, you know, and then your fulfillment, your happiness, your inner peace, that's more of a 7 or 8. Like people who were still in corporate America, just wasting away, man. You know, getting up, clocking in, doing the same thing, clocking in to a job they hate and clocking out of a life they could love.
Yeah.
I think that's where the real risk comes into play.
So it's kind of interesting because as you were talking about the risk reward, right, depending on how you're looking at the decision. And when you said maybe it's a 7 or 8, but really it's a 3 or 4, you know, I just play off politics. I was like, it's like a swing risk because it's kind of like definitely during that decision-making process, there was days where it was a 7 and 8 and I was scared out of my mind.
Of course.
And there was days where it was a 3 or 4.
But that's scared out of your mind thing. That's the human. You know what I'm saying? That's the human mind. That's the logical brain talking.
Right.
And sometimes that primitive part of our mind that protects us from that scary thing, that logical thing that think through instead of listening to that heart-centered brain that says, hey, man, everything is going to be okay. Like, I know you can't see what I feel. You can only see what's in front of you. But sometimes you just gotta step out.
Right. I was just sitting here thinking when you were saying that about how some of what you were saying about how it's like internal, external. It's also, I believe, external from a cultural perspective, from who's in your life. Who are you listening to? Who's surrounding you? Because if all I had done was go to my parents and talked about wanting to leave my job, they would have given me very strong reasons not to. And they
Right.
would have felt it was the silliest decision I had made in my life. Who else is around you?
Right.
And what's influencing you that may make a decision that could be really right for you feel really wrong?
You've said it before too. It's like those people are only speaking from their views, their maps of the world. You know what I'm saying? If the highest they've gone is only the 5th floor, you know, they don't know what the view is like from the penthouse.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, there's just so many different things. And, really wanted to bring this up because right now I feel like as a society, us not feeling, I don't feel this way. I don't want to claim this because this is not me. So I just feel like I want to put that out energetically. But like the uncertainty of what's going on in the world right now, I feel like raises the perceived risk for so many people on the decisions that they're making in their life and their day-to-day choices.
Agree to disagree. I think this is just a physical personification of what the majority of people go through on a day-to-day. We're just seeing more of it. This is like a hyper awareness, because it's just interesting the amount of energy people put into something they have absolutely no control over, something that they think that's going to basically change their lives in 24 hours. It's that perceived fear in general, like because of the election, the comments, oh my gosh, the fear behind all this. Like people live that way day to day already, but this certain situation has just brought a lot of that up into the light, like stuff we wouldn't usually see. Oh my gosh, I'm staying up all night watching. There's so much energy going into this certain situation. The election of 2020 has put a spotlight on their energetic frequency. You know, it's kind of like when you're sick, when you just go. Because you're like, I can push through. You go. And your body says, they always say whatever happens internally eventually comes out externally. Mm-hmm. And I think the election 2020 as a whole is spotlighting that for people, for individuals. It's just bringing it all up, out into the open. And it's just interesting.
Well, and I feel like too, with all of that coming up, I'm sure there's more than just that coming up. Lots of different things where people are awakening to things that they maybe didn't like as much as they thought they did. Spouse, life, job, family, future, whatever, right? Because they're things that a lot of times we get in the groove and we kind of start to fall asleep in our life because we feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then we forget to really like wake back up and be like, whoa, am I going the direction I like? Is this fun to me? Is this what I want? Is this what makes me happy? And so I feel like now is the perfect time to really just like reevaluate what you want, who you want to be, where you want to go, how you want to feel.
What do you have to lose, right?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, too, when it comes to big decisions in your life, buying a house, hiring a coach, making a big investment in a big mastermind program, or going on a big retreat or whatever, right? In those moments, you're really thinking about, okay, before I spend this $10,000 on this thing, or, if you're going to a house, obviously it's different, but I'm talking about like when you invest in yourself through something like a personal development, like a retreat, a coach, a mastermind, something like that. You're like, okay, I want to change. And I'm about to invest $10,000. Holy shit, there's a huge risk here.
Right.
And then you kind of go through this whole thing that we've been talking about, right? This level 0 to 10. And depending on who's in your circle depends on, and not even who's in your circle, but how you've been raised, how you feel about money, how you feel about risk.
I think that's a big play on who's in your circle too, though.
Both. It's both.
Okay.
It's like how you've been brought up and who's in your circle.
Got it.
Right? Because you're getting ready to make this $10,000 investment in a coach, right? You're going to work with a coach. You're going to spend $10,000, or you're going to go on a retreat or a spiritual thing, and you're going to spend $10,000. And it's like, oh, shit. It feels like a 10, right? A risk of 8, 9, 10. Because what the people are saying is, hunker down. It's a pandemic. 2020 is crazy. Hold on to your money. And those might be really smart things to do. However, I feel like when big decisions are being made in your life, that's when it goes back to what you said, Jay. It's like, okay, well, what's the
trade-off?
Yeah, the trade-off and the pain. If I stay in this, I'm frustrated and I can't get out, or, you're trying to kind of get out of a hole in your life. You're frustrated. You don't like where you're at. You feel stuck. How much is that worth to you?
Right.
To be able to get out of that and come on the other side and be loosey-goosey and free.
I think there's a lot of rewiring just in general. That cultural thing, that environmental thing. This person did it this way, so if I follow them, it'll work for me, instead of just kind of goes back to that thing somebody said about, you're looking for the secret sauce, but the sauce is secret for a reason. Like, nobody's really going to give you their secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
They might give you their secret sauce, but is it really secret? Because we came back from a little trip and had this amazing chicken tortellini soup.
Yum.
Amazing. And Connie Pyle, who made it, Jen made it, got the recipe, made it pretty much the same exact way, right? But it tastes different, which just goes to show, like, you could have like the blueprint, you could have the steps, you could have the foundation, and the results will still be different because it's something that person did. It's their thing, their secrets. I kind of feel like you can't really teach or tell someone what your secret sauce is, because the secret aspect is your swag, your style, your vibe, your energy you put into that thing. And that can't be taught. That can't be copied. Some people can try to copy it, but you'll never really have that result that person has,
Right. It's like, go find your own secret sauce and own that.
And own it.
And I think too, find your own secret sauce and then making the choices for the things that feel risky in your life, I feel like become less risky. Because then you're just like standing in your power and all those choices and decisions.
Just thinking. Risk. There's always going to, like you said,
there's always going to be risk.
There's always going to be a risk.
But I feel like it's mindset too, right? Okay, so I've done this before in my life. I've cashed out a 401k. That was a risk, right? You're supposed to keep your 401k until you retire and then take the money off of it.
But having the 401k period is a risk.
Right. But like, that's a risk to cash out your 401k and pay all the fees ahead of time.
No, I'm saying, but like
also having one is a risk. Yes.
Yeah. The market could drop, you know what I'm saying? And since your 401k is tied to the market.
But we've also been told, I guess, unless your 401k is smaller and you're later in life, we've been told just to be like, just ignore it. It'll figure itself out in 30, 40, 50 years. That's what we've been told. I looked at mine. I popped in mine. And with 2020, it lost like, what did I say? Like $30,000 or whatever. And now it's up 10.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like one of those things. But anyways, my point was,
it's a risk.
It's a risk.
Having it, cashing it out is a risk.
Right. And doing those things, it was like scary because it was like against the, for me, I think a lot of my risky things have been like things that go against the grain of society. Things you're not supposed to do.
People pleaser.
If you guys could see the eyes I'm giving him right now. I always wanted to do things the right way, which is so funny because I'm so non-traditional and non-conventional, but I still wanted to like do things the right way. Gotta do this the right way to make people happy. So you got it right. Duh.
Of course I did.
All right, guys. I don't know what risks you got in front of you, but take a look, think about some of the stuff we've shared. Make that decision from that heart center. Not that, what'd you call the other one? Call one like the heart center and one the...
Primitive?
Yeah, that center, I guess.
No, it was the heart center brain and the primitive brain.
Okay, the primitive brain, make it from the heart center brain, not the primitive brain. And actually, I got a really low risk thing you can do. This is a 0. Maybe a 1 if you're afraid to talk to strangers. And we're not strangers, so now I just made it a 0. May have just given it away.
could have someone brand new on the show, so we would still be strangers.
Well, guess what? Mahala, welcome to the Ohana. Now you're part of the family. Now it's official. Buy all low risk thing is if you have, maybe gained some weight from COVID, eating those Oreos every day, all day, up all night, and you are wanting to find more fun, freedom, adventure. You're wanting to really just find balance in all realms. You're wanting to get a breakthrough when it comes to your wellness and your mindset. Guess what? I'm inviting you to set up a wellness breakthrough call with us. Your risk level is 0. You got nothing to lose talking to us, everything to gain. And even if you do lose, you still gain. I'm just saying, you gain all the wisdom and the fun, and we want to talk to you. So I invite you to do that. Reach out to us. Send us a message on Instagram at 2_jhala. We'll set you up. We got you. We'll give you the hookup. We got a straight hookup on that for you. So reach out to us and we'll hook you up. Till next time. Mahala.
You can subscribe to the Holistic Life Podcast from your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to check out 2jholla.com to stay in the know as an official 2JH insider. Mahalo for tuning in. And until next time, that's our show.